Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Why PDA and profound autism need bloody good evidence. By Richard Woods at London South Bank University, PhD student, and I'm currently on an extended gap year. Um, so yeah, this is going to be one of my shorter videos. So just pointing out that bold claims need exceptional evidence. Um, there'll be some reflective questions at the end. The main content of this talk will be basically the importance of alternative explanations. So yeah, this is a video I've been meaning to make for a couple of weeks now since I came across this piece in the conversation, and it's talking about how extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, about how this particular piece in a conversation was speaking about how claims for life outside of Earth needs really good evidence to be accepted. So to talk about from a science perspective, they need to have three kind of thresholds. It kind of needs to be replicable. What's being tested needs to be significant and actually important, and it needs to have a strong signal. So basically, it's highly unlikely that the result is due to random things going on with the equipment, or has some alternative explanations that can explain the result. I think these are kind of important to know. I explain elsewhere how, for kind of like psychiatry related constructs and categories like PDA, as they're based on reliability, what's being tested and measured can literally be made up out of thin air. So one needs to be kind of even more careful the claims being made around kind of constructs and categories due to that than compared to claiming that there's life seen outside of Earth. Um, so, kind of give an example why. So, this is a quote from an article that I published 5 years ago, sorry, 6 years ago, with three autistic colleagues. And this screenshot just basically explains reasons why attempts to divide autism into subtypes have failed. Um, so the reasons that it kind of listed is that persons with autism frequently transition between subtypes. It can be exceedingly challenging in marking boundaries between subtypes, considering the concept of spiky profile in the autistic population, i.e. atypical developmental trajectories compared to their age-matched non-autistic peers. Persons with autism can have different responses to the same task, and also just pointing out like issues with the reliability of previous autism subtypes in the DSM-4. You can look elsewhere on the topic of autism subtypes and basically how basically all previous attempts to make them by dividing autism itself have failed. It's basically like autism itself as a category, as a phenomena, just cannot be divided successfully into subtypes. I've got a link in the description to all the sources of screenshots and to where I talk about how psychiatric constructs are kind of created, social constructs, and also to another review on the problems with creating autism subtypes by Stephen Catt. So yeah, kind of moving on. So one of the other proposed autism subtypes is profound autism, and its advocates have written about how we need to use co-occurring difficulties to create autism subtypes within the autistic population. They're saying because that the co-occurring difficulties impact quality of life and functioning kind of capabilities and that kind of side of it. I'd point out that they basically need to do this because you cannot do it with autism directly. So this kind of goes back to the point I was saying at the start of the video about how alternative explanations need to be considered in order to kind of justify bold claims. And if you read the piece in conversation, it talks about how previous claims around life outside of Earth have been kind of ruled out due to alternative explanations. So, yeah, I mean, alternative explanations for the results that are being kind of presented. So, yeah, I mean, I'd point out that if one's seeing differences between certain groups of autistic people, it's probably going to be due to kind of co-occurring difficulties or circular methods. Which are a problem with PDA research, as noted in the systematic review by Cadal in 2021. They do note issues within the circularity of the studies. They also note the lack of considering alternative explanations um, to explain the behaviours and results being presented. So yeah, one can question of how scientific is many PDA studies actually are. It's worth pointing out here, for example, uh, even Elizabeth Newson herself considered if certain things that we're seeing with PDA are actually explained by other alternative explanations. So this is from a conference paper in 1996. It is on the last page of the document, but um, she points out and she asks, is afflicting behaviours being seen in her PDA cases due to ADHD? Or alternatively would have been called hyperkinetic disorder within the ICD-10 back in 1996. So um, moving on, I've just got some reflective questions on the kind of topic is like, can autism as a phenomenon be divided into subtypes? So what I mean by that, by autism itself as a thing, as that we kind of investigate and kind of conceptualize. Like, do alternative explanations for autism subtypes need to be investigated and actively kind of discussed? And I would point out, and I would also go on to like, do we need to actively discuss and research perspectives of PDAs with intellectual disability, non-autistic PDAs, PDAs from global majority cultures such as collectivist-based cultures, and PDAs that are not part of the PDA community. So people like myself, I don't particularly want to be part of the PDA community. They have been quite aggressive and quite nasty towards me. Um, so yeah, I mean, should my views be discounted? Should they be ignored, or should they be included and actually kind of investigated and actually considered? Um, so going to end with maybe one's stimming activities being many and one flow state's long, and it's just equivalent to live long and prosper. And yeah, it's just a short video, hopefully. Anyway,